Pause recording.
Brilliant.
Zoom meeting window.
Accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities. Makes the world better for everyone, online as well as in person. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I am the blind blogger Maxwell Ivy, and this is the Accessibility Advantage, where I'm hoping to advocate for more inclusion of and accessibility for people with disabilities through education, communication, and collaboration. Really do want to bring home the point that accessibility is in everyone's best interest, and you can find me at theaccessibilityadvantage.com. I am a 59-year-old Caucasian male with short brown curly hair that has some gray and some white in it, or brown eyes. I am wearing a white button-down shirt with a black tie, and I have retinitis pigmentosa, or RP, and have only remaining light perception. Today, I'm going to be talking to a gentleman about search engine optimization and accessibility. But before I do his introduction, I want to let you know that this episode is being sponsored by audioeye.com. That's audio EYE. And if after you hear us, you're wanting to get started in accessibility and use it in the area of your improving your search engine rankings, then you should check out their website and their free accessibility checker that can check for violations for up to 32 different points of WCAG, which stands for Web Content Accessibility Guidelines. You can find the checker on their website, again, audioeye.com. So today, I'm very excited to be speaking with Jason Barnard. He is an entrepreneur, the CEO and founder of Calicube. It's a digital marketing agency, which I probably got that wrong, but his focus is helping business leaders go from being just one among many to being the go-to person in their industry. He has also written a great book called The Fundamentals of SERP for Business, and he hosts a podcast called
Fast Lane Founders and Legacy, if I may.
There you go. Yeah, Fast Lane Founders and Legacies. The host appreciates the guest jumping in to help the host out, which I love it because it's a combination of how people can grow, but also build something that's going to last forever. So I like that. Y'all can find him at jasonbarnard.com. And so, Jason, I appreciate you coming on the podcast and also being patient during the process. I'm looking forward to a great conversation. Hopefully, you'll also drop a little bit about your music and your children's programming.
Absolutely delighted to be here, Max. And yes, I mean, I can talk about music, I can talk about the cartoons, I can talk about SEO, I can talk about Google, and I can talk about AI and the future.
Right. So one thing about your music and the kids stuff is you use a lot of what you do now in the area of SEO in order to build those to, especially the kids stuff, to build it to the level that it was without really paying for a lot of stuff. Am I correct there?
Yeah, you are. We started in 1998, and the website Buwan Kuala, who the characters that we created with my ex-wife, grew very, 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 very quickly. And one thing we did back in the day was to bet on Google being the big player. There were multiple search engines at the time, maybe 12. Excite, Yahoo was around, Lycos, Magdalene. And we needed to create a lot of different pages at the time to suit each of the engines. And then one day I thought, right, okay, let's bet on Google. And so I focused just on Google, and whether it was a lucky guess or it was intelligent thought process on my part, Google won the day. And we ended up with 60 million 60 million visitors in 2007 and 1 billion page views for that children's website. And yes, most of it came from Google and from what I would call organic popularity. So people would recommend the website, and I think that's key. The website was such great quality that people recommended it. And I was smart enough to bet on the Google horse and win the Google game. And those two combined gave us 1 billion page views in 2007.
That's interesting because I started my first website in 2007 helping people sell used carnival and amusement park rides. And over that time, it seems like it's always been create content, ignore Google, game Google, don't worry about content. I'm glad to finally run across another person who's like, we're going to have to do both if we want to really get Google's attention and the attention of the other search engine.
Yeah. And what was kind of intriguing was that we were using Macromedia and then Adobe Flash, which is absolutely not search engine friendly. So I managed to win the Google game by using a technology that was absolutely not digestible to Google, nor indeed was it accessible. Flash was terrible for accessibility,
Oh, yes.
unfortunately. But the website was games for children. And as that, for that particular role, it functioned incredibly well.
Right. Well, that is one of those discussions we have to have, is, businesses doing what they are capable of doing at the time, given the market, but at the same time, still having the goal of accessibility, which it
Yeah.
sounds like it's what you were doing.
Yeah. Well, once I exited Up to 10, I then created Calicube, which is my current company, Kalicube. And as you said, we're here to help people control and amplify their brand, personal, corporate, or product brand online. And in that, we're very much more in the traditional way of communicating with search engines like Google and AI like ChatGPT, and that does require accessibility.
Right. So that's one thing I really do my best to emphasize, but I think you're the expert here, and that is that Google and the other search engines, and we'll talk a little bit about ChatGPT in a bit, are getting much better at detecting the basic minimum standards of accessibility, and this can either help or hurt your brand. Is that correct?
Yeah. The problem with traditional SEO in the last 25 years, 27 years since I've been doing it, has been that the people in the SEO industry have tried to use or successfully used accessibility as a trick to beat Google, to win the Google game. Alt tags for images being the classic example. Alt tags, which are, I would imagine, incredibly annoying to listen to those keyword lists when you're using a screen reader, that were used many times by many people to trick Google into ranking web pages higher. The good news is Google have got smarter and the machines in general have got smarter, and that kind of simplistic tactic doesn't work anymore. So hopefully people will come back to the original use of alt tags and other accessibility options, use them properly so that excuse me, so that people with disabilities can actually use them the way they were supposed to.
Right. I hope that you're correct, but I haven't seen any recent examples of people, making that decision. But it could be Google just hasn't penalized enough of them yet for keyword stuffing in their alt text.
Yeah.
I do find that I would love to have more description and less business jargon.
Yes. I mean, I can 100% agree with you on that. It's always annoyed me. Also, the role I would think the title tag for the anchor text is something people have commonly spammed, added lots of business jargon instead of actually telling you what the link is about. The fact is, Google has been famously blind. So the bot itself wasn't able to see the content for many, many years. Now it can. So it does what we call rendering. So the machine will take a look at the page as though it were a person. So that simplistic trick doesn't work quite so well anymore. And Google are moving towards a smarter set of algorithms that don't rely on keyword counting, which is the particular weakness that that trick exploited. Google now understand the world in a semi-human manner, and so does ChatGPT, so does Microsoft Copilot, Perplexity, they're all moving towards the idea of understanding the world better, which should theoretically reduce that terrible abuse of the accessibility standards.
Right. And hopefully it will encourage more people to go beyond the accessibility standards, because I know one thing that you're very big about is teaching the search engines and the bots who you are. Now that I understand that the more recent versions look at your business or your page as a person, I understand you really want to educate them, and accessibility is a big part of that.
Yeah, 100%. The engines are getting smarter, so they see me, Jason Barnard, as a person. They now understand who I am, that I'm an entrepreneur, that I'm a digital marketer, that I'm the CEO of Calicube. I was the CEO of Up to 10. Before that, I was the CEO of WTPL Music. It understands all that. And that allows me to then feed it information, both about who I am, what I do, who I can serve, why I'm a credible solution, why it should trust me, and when it should deliver me to the subset of its users who are my audience. So the idea of simply using keywords and links is now pretty much dead. And we're looking at brand, personal brand, corporate brand, product brand. Can I educate the machine, educate it as though it's a child, to understand who I am, what I do, who I serve, and why I am a credible solution for the subset of its users who are my audience?
Okay, now I warned you in advance, and I warned all my guests that I am prone to ask people questions that basically Max is the only one who wants to know the answer, and he hopes that sometimes other people will listen too. So here's my question. As a person who has been a carnival owner, an amusement equipment broker, a coach, a podcast guest instructor and booker, and now an accessibility expert, I've been Mr. Midway, the blind blogger, and Mr. What's Your Excuse or No Excuses. Is there any of this that I need to be de-emphasizing or emphasizing? Is there any of this that I should be hoping Google forgets? How do I get Google to see Max as the expert that people should hire as an accessibility lead for their company or organization?
Yeah, I think that's a question that everybody wants to know the answer to be honest. And it comes back to the reason, or when I was pivoting from the ed tech company Up to 10 to Calicube, is my problem was that when I exited Up to 10, Google represented me as a cartoon blue dog. Boo are the cartoon blue dog.
I'm sorry.
Because,
Okay.
well, because although I was the CEO and the founder of Up to 10, I also gave my voice to the cartoon character. And the problem was that online, things like IMDb, Wikipedia, Wikidata, Rotten Tomatoes listed Jason Barnard as the voiceover actor for a cartoon blue dog. And Google focused in on that. So if you search my name, it said Jason Barnard is cartoon blue dog. And I was trying to build a career in digital marketing and start a digital marketing agency. The first thing I had to do was solve that problem, so that when people Googled my name, those people at the bottom of the funnel ready to sign a contract with me, that they didn't see Jason Barnard as a cartoon blue dog. They saw Jason Barnard as a successful entrepreneur and a major world expert in digital marketing. And it took me, I don't know, a few months to get that to start working, a year to figure it out. And then after 2 years, I realized that this is a huge service that everybody needs. We all have that multifaceted life, some like yourself and myself more than others, but Google and the AI don't know for a fact that all of those people you just mentioned are the same person. So the first thing to do is make sure that it understands it's not 5 or 6 different people, that it's 5 or 6 different jobs that Max has done, 5 or 6 different personas that you've had.
Right. So is that why when I asked you which website to send people today, you said you used jasonbarnard.com, partly because it's easier, but partly because that's a place where all of your personalities are drawn together?
Yes, that's a very, very good way of putting it. Thank you very much. Saved me trying to say it quite so eloquently.
Eloquent's not a word I get often, so thank you. But I'm just trying to follow along at home, as I'm hoping our audience is. So
Right.
okay.
So as you say, if you want Google to perceive you and represent you as an accessibility expert, You need to get it to understand, number one, that all these people are the same person. And number two, that the current focus is accessibility. So if you don't have a personal website, you need to create one, because Google and AI are looking for what they call the point of reconciliation. Some of them call it the entity home, where they can get the information from you, about all of your different personas and which one it should be focusing on right now. And on that entity home, you can write your clear story about the focus today, what you want to be known for today, and how you can serve the subset of their users who are your audience.
Okay. Earlier this year, I was giving a talk for CSUN. That's the California State University Northridge Conference on Adaptive Technology. And as part of that, I filed for a new domain because it was easier to print in Braille on my business cards. And so we filed for Maxwell Ivy and also maxivy.com. And we went with Max Ivy because it's obviously fewer Braille characters on the front of the business card. So it almost sounds like that was not necessarily a bad thing to have done if I'm looking at this point of reconciliation that you were just talking about.
Yeah, it's a great thing to have done. If you look at it, if you take a step back and look at my career, for example, I am mentioned on the website of my first company, WTPL Music. I'm mentioned on the website of Up to 10 Limited, my second company, and on my own Calicube website today. The only place Google can find those three pieces of information in one place is on my website. So those three different companies that I founded and I was the CEO of all mention me, but the place Google will find that full information is on my own website. And that goes for my books, it goes for my music albums, it goes for my TV series, it goes for everything I've done.
Yes, I noticed that about your homepage, and I was almost over-informed as far as finding points of information for our conversation today, which is a bit of an accessibility item that most people don't talk about. Is how you mentioned earlier my screen reader, how slowly it talked, because that's how I have my screen reader set. The more information, the longer it takes to digest the information with adaptive technology. But I did notice that you have everything there: your books, your podcast, your work in various different fields, your public speaking and everything. So if nothing else, you are definitely someone who does things the way you're teaching other people to do them, and I'm impressed by that.
You're right. Thank you very much. Well, the point of the website is to guide the bots, Google, ChatGPT, Perplexity, Microsoft Bing, to better understand me and to hopefully present the information that's actually interesting for people front and center. So we have two different audiences, one of which is people who will look at typically 4 or 5 pages. They want to know about my companies. They want to know about my books. They want to know about me giving keynotes, talks, me as an innovator potentially. And then a lot of information behind the scenes that is less easy for people to find, where I'm helping the bots to better understand who I am, what I do, and who I serve.
Okay, so that is important. Would you say that either of those audiences is more or less important, or you have to nail them both equally well?
You have to nail them both equally well. And for me, the very important thing is not to push the content that people won't find interesting in front of them. So if I've written an article that explains to Google, for example, I wrote an article the other week saying, Jason Barnard is the world expert in brand SERPs. Jason Barnard is the world expert in knowledge panels. Brand SERPs plus knowledge panels is the search result for somebody's name. Online reputation management is effectively managing the search result for your own name. Therefore, Jason Barnard is a world expert in online reputation management. Now, some people might want to hear that, but the aim was to get Google and AI to recognize me as a world expert in online reputation management with that, which is what we call in Calicube, claim, frame, and prove. I make a claim, I'm a world expert in online reputation management. I frame it by saying brand SERPs, search engine results page for brand name, plus knowledge panel expertise together make online reputation management expert. And then I prove it by linking out to places where people have said that I'm an expert in online reputation management, brand SERPs, and knowledge panels.
Okay, so the 3 points again are, and I noticed the last one, proof, is an important part of it. So what are the 3 parts to your CalCube approach again?
Claim, frame, and prove. Make a claim, frame it in a way that makes sense to your business today, that helps you today, and prove it. So your example would be you have multiple personas in the accessibility space. So you can actually make those claims and frame them to serve your business today.
Right. Well, the one I was recently exposed to through people that I've been associating with lately in the disability community is, Max, the fact that you were open about your disability in 2012 when most people were still hiding their challenges online,
Right.
basically put you in the forefront of advocating for accessibility. So I can claim that I've been advocating for all these years. I have the experience of things I've done through the blindblogger.net, and then the proof being the people that I've actually educated or informed on accessibility through my writing, speaking, or consulting.
Yeah, 100%. And the fact that you're a precursor, that you were one of the first to come out and start talking openly on the blindblogger.net gives you the proof as well. You can say, well, one reason that I should be considered an expert and an authority in my field is because I've been talking about it for 13 years online. And here's a link to that blog that proves that I started in 2012. That kind of proof is also very useful. And then, as you said, people writing reviews for you or writing articles about you is another proof, i.e. your audience appreciating your work within that field.
Okay. So up till now, we've been talking about mostly, I think, about Google. I could be wrong. I'm wondering if you could talk a bit about how ChatGPT and the many other AI bots that are coming online are affecting search engine optimization, and at the same time, how or whether or not this makes accessibility more or less important going forward with AI.
Right. Well, ChatGPT, for example, is able to have a conversation. So that changes the nature of search. Rather than Google coming up with the 10 blue links, I click on the 10 blue links to do my own research. ChatGPT, Perplexity, and now Google AI mode will summarize the search results for me. So I don't need to visit as many websites, and that's terrible news for blog publishers and SEO professionals. But it's great news for users who want a much better user experience. So the aim of search now is to become part of a conversation between a machine and a human. So what I want to do as a marketer is ensure that ChatGPT or Google AI mode, Google Gemini, Microsoft Copilot, Perplexity introduce me to the conversation with the right people at the right time when I can solve their problem, when those people are having a conversation with the chatbot. That, for me, is a fundamental shift, and a fundamental shift in the way we need to think as marketers is that we need to think about how do I make myself top of mind at the critical moment when push comes to shove and somebody asks that machine for the solution to their problem.
Wow, that's much more that's much more momentous than I thought about it anytime I've actually used one of those chatbots.
Right. Well, one way I like to say is how can you become top of algorithmic mind? It's like when you're having a conversation like the two of us, and you say to me, oh, actually, Jason, could you tell me somebody who can solve this specific problem, make me a beautiful, beautiful website? Who happens to be top of my mind at the moment you ask me that question is critical because it could be one of 10 people, but I'm only going to give you one name.
Okay.
How do we make ourselves top of algorithmic mind at that critical moment when somebody's asking the machine for the solution to their problem. And we call that the perfect click. And it's Fabrice Canel from Microsoft Bing who told me this, is that the idea of Copilot, ChatGPT, AI mode is to bring the user down the funnel through awareness, consideration, and to decision. And that moment of decision is what they call the perfect click. Which website should I send you to? Which supplier should I send you to when you ask me who will solve my problem the best? And that supplier, company, Calicube, Jason Barnard, or Max, that the machine sends the user to at that critical moment is the one that it trusts the most.
Okay, so in the past, the goal was to be on the first page of results.
Yeah.
Those first 10 results, that was, if you were on that first page, you had a good shot.
Yeah.
But now we need to be that first of first when somebody's having that conversation with the bot, asking them, who would you recommend, as if they're having a conversation like we are, as you mentioned?
Yeah, 100%. And it's a really tricky problem for marketers because it's very difficult, if not impossible, to actually measure. How do I know as a marketer that that conversation includes me? Because there is no way for me to measure it as a marketer because each conversation is private and no data is released. So the key is actually to build yourself to be the market leader in your niche. So for you, building up your personal brand to be the market leader in accessibility would be your aim. And then you would have to work on the belief that the machines are actually introducing you to the conversation. And one of the things that we do at Calicube is the claim, frame, and prove model, where we write the content that claims and frames and proves to the machine that we can solve these problems and that we are the best, the most trustworthy source.
Okay, so where does accessibility come into this as far as the brand or the marketer when they are creating their websites and their content? Are they going to know that accessibility is important, or is accessibility going to even be important to the bots? Or is that going to be on people like me to show the bots that it is important? How does that all work?
Right, which is a great question. The bots all use the same web source, the same data source, and that's the web. The only way I can educate the bots about me is by changing my digital footprint. And the key to educating the bots is to make sure that your content is indexable. And I'll go through the process of how a bot thinks and functions. So we need to differentiate between LLM chatbot, which is ChatGPT, search engine, which is Google, and the bot that actually goes around the web sucking up all the information. So I'll call ChatGPT, Google AI mode, Google search, assistive engines. So we'll call them all assistive engines for the moment. The bot goes around the web, and there are 5 stages. Number 1, discovered. They discover a web page. So they might see a link to a web page and they say, okay, there's a new web page. I've discovered that, I know it exists. Now the question is, do I select it or not? If it's selected, it goes to the web page. Then it goes through the process of crawling. So you've got discovery, selection, crawling. Then it renders, which means it shows the web page to itself as though it were a human or as close as it can, which is where accessibility is hugely valuable. As it crawls, accessibility will make the crawling easier and the rendering easier. So accessibility helps with already those 2 phases. Then it indexes the web page. Now, this is crucial. Accessibility is, as you said earlier on, the standards of the web, including HTML5, semantic HTML5. And I've been obsessed by semantic HTML5 since the beginning, let's say. And the reason is because semantic HTML5 gives a role to each part of the page. And the reason that's important is it means the bot can break the page down into blocks and analyze each block, each passage or each section individually. And then it stores that web page in multiple blocks or multiple sections in the web index, which is then used by both ChatGPT and Google search. So both the LLM chatbots and by the search engines. And the key here is that when the bot puts the content into its index, it annotates every piece of content. It puts a little post-it on the piece of content with a confidence score. Accessibility items will always help the machine better understand which pieces of the content it should be putting in the index, what each piece of content is about, and increase its confidence in the post-its, the annotations that it puts onto the content. So in fact, accessibility goes through the entire process of discoverability, selectability, crawlability, renderability, and indexability. All 5 stages are greatly served by accessibility items.
Well, that is very encouraging, because if accessibility is in the best interest of business owners, marketers, designers, there's a better than average chance they will embrace it over time. They
Yeah.
may still try to game it, as we discussed with alt text, but I've found over the years I have a much better chance if I can show somebody why it's in their best interest, as opposed to telling them you need to do this or else.
Yes. Well, simply saying to them, the more you adhere to accessibility standards, the easier it is for the bot to discover, select, crawl, render, index, annotate with confidence. Every single step of the way, you're going to be at an advantage.
And that last part, confidence, is very important, because it's
Yeah.
not only the confidence of the bot, but the confidence of the people reviewing the information that they are going to receive as a result of all this automated stuff being done on the back end.
Mm. Yeah. One huge problem, I was watching a program about it yesterday, that the amount of AI content being produced is a huge problem. And it's scary, worrying, and it's going to get increasingly difficult to decipher what is created by AI and what isn't. Um, I'm in a position now where, with the claim frame and prove model, building personal brands, I feel kind of like I'm in a good place. I'm in a fair place. I'm in a place that's going to help the world. And for myself and CaddieCube, I'm very proud of that.
Right. Well, I think that we're starting to see in this discussion more and more talk about how people like you, who are trying to help people create real representations of themselves to take advantage of what the bots are already doing.
Mm,
People that are using their unique voices to create content and resisting the siren call of making life easy and letting AI do it for you or with you. I feel like people like me and you are on the right side of this, and hopefully
yeah.
we'll continue to be benefited by being on the right side of it. And the one thing I would say is, look at all the people over the years who have been harmed because they gamed Google. And they did great for short periods of time, sometimes even medium periods of time. But eventually, Google got smart, and
Mm,
those businesses paid severe penalties for the results they had of gaming Google. And so you just have to believe that, while it is challenging, the people who continue to do things the right way, for lack of a better phrase, are going to be the ones who benefit over time. And I'm glad to see you and your company are approaching this with the right mindset. So
yeah.
do you? Yeah. So one thing I'm hearing, though, is that while AI may affect employment, AI will not result in accessibility being ignored by the internet, which is a very encouraging thing to have come to understand in just about a half hour or so. So I really appreciate you giving me some
Yeah.
Positive belief there on the future of the net and accessibility. And so before we finish, I'd just like to give you a chance to, what are some of your thoughts about the current condition and future of AI and search? And if you can add in a little bit of accessibility in there, fine. If not, this is your time. So what would you want people to take away from meeting Jason Barnard?
Well, fundamentally, how AI understands and represents you as a person, your company, your product, is an existential problem. And it's an existential problem you must address at some point if you want to make money online with your business, your personal brand, or your product. And the time to do it is now, because these machines are nailing down the foundation of their knowledge in the next couple of years. And once they've got to a point where they feel they understand enough about you, they have no reason to come back and ask you for more information. So you need to make sure that these machines understand who you are, what you do, who you serve, and why you're credible in the next 3 to 4 years, so that they can help you reach your audience, your ideal audience. And always remember that these machines are going to be having conversations with your audience, just like you as a user having conversations with them. And you need them to have you, your product, your business, top of mind at the critical moment when somebody asks that machine, who should I trust to solve this specific problem? You need to be top of mind, and the time to start building that top of mind strategy for algorithms, the time to start is right now.
Well, my good friend Alex Sanfilippo, who created Podmatch, he loves using a quote, and I forget who he got it from, but he talks often about how the best time to start planting a forest was 20 years ago, but the next best time to start planting a forest is right now. And so I couldn't help but mention my good buddy's name when you were talking about that. So I do hope y'all will check out Jason at jasonbarnard.com or at calicube.com. I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. I also hope that y'all will check out the sponsor for this episode and consider sponsoring a future episode of the Accessibility Advantage. AudioEye.com, AudioEye.com has a very solid accessibility checker that will help you get a good start baseline as far as where you're at now. It will test for up to 32 different types of violations under the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, or WCAG, and that's at audioey.com. And I do hope that y'all will visit the website, theaccessibilityadvantage.com. Feel free to reach out, send me an email. I really enjoy having conversations where I can learn and also educate people about how accessibility benefits everyone. So
that's brilliant. I'm going to go and take a look at audioeye.com right now and check my website, and I'm sure I'm going to fail quite a lot of those tests.
I doubt it. I doubt it, because the only thing I really noticed about your website is there's an awful lot of content there, and that's not something indexed under WCAG. So I think you're probably pretty good. So, hey, guys, I do hope y'all will join us the next time. And until then, please do take care of yourselves out there.
Thank you so much, Max.
Thank you. Sure. Let me do my ending music, and then we'll press stop. So, disabled people, we tell our friends and share to our social sites. Don't think about how hard it is. Just focus on those $signs, 'cause accessibility ain't just for those with disabilities.
Pause recording button. Now in. Stop cloud recording. After cancel. Cancel.